Thanks for checking out a new episode of Bad Advice with Chris Cubis, the show where unqualified people give unsolicited advice. This week I'm joined by comedians Amber Bixby and M.K. Paulsen. We chop it up in a real fun conversation. We talk about bad tippers, throwing away your kids' sex toys, dating the weird kid in high school. Check it out. Thanks for rocking with us, man. You guys have been leaving those reviews. We really appreciate that. You're saying nice things to me on Twitter. I always appreciate that because that website's a cesspool. We've got some great guests this week. I'm very excited to see their faces. Up first, is the host of the Roommates for Life podcast. You can see him on the Inside Jokes on Amazon Prime. Give it up. M.K. Paulsen is here. M.K., how's it going?
Hey, it's so good to be here. Thank you for having me. I can't wait to just throw out every first thought I have that's not going to be good.
That's the whole point of this podcast. When I started the podcast, I was like, what can I do where I require, because I had another podcast previously where we would watch a TV show and talk about it, but it requires people to do homework and prepare. I'm not doing that anymore. That's a unnecessary ask. So yeah, you can come in here and just talk a bunch of shit. How's that?
I think we're going to prove first thought definitely not best thought. At least for me. You guys maybe you're rocking it. Me, I don't know. We'll see. It's probably going to be like you should eat something.
I definitely didn't eat dinner either, or eat anything today. Actually,
yeah. Oh my God, me neither.
This Irish coffee that I'm having is my lunch, so we'll see how that plays out. That voice you heard is the hilarious Amber Bixby. Amber, how's it going?
Going great. My life's a disaster, so I'm qualified to give the best advice.
I feel like there is some truth to that. I feel like if your life has been fucking, peaches and cream your whole life, then you don't have anything to you can't relate to somebody who's writing for desperate help from a newspaper column. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. How is, and I don't want to, I'm clearly trying not to pry, but you did mention it. Is it we'll just talk pandemic relations. Has that been particularly we're coming out the other side? Are you vaccinated? How's that part of your life going?
I am vaccinatoured, and that's
a good start.
Feels so good.
MK, how about you?
I'm touring in Austin and I am not vaccinated. No, I am super vaccinated.
Awesome.
I don't want to brag. I have the Johnson & Johnson one-stop shop.
There you go. Amber, what you get?
Oh, I got Pfizer. It kicked my ass.
Yeah. I had the Moderna and it put me on my ass for a
Oh, wow. We're a real smorgasbord of vaccines over here.
Man.
You got questions, so we got vaccine answers.
This is like a social experiment right now. For a medical one.
Have you started dipping your toe back into comedy? I don't know what your pandemic. I didn't fucking do any shows during the pandemic, so are you guys trying to get back out there? Amber, how about you?
I've done 2 shows. I didn't do anything for 14 months. The first one way back was fun. The second one, I was a rusty trash can.
Oh yeah, you'll be. I did one show. I did Peep Show up front, first show back, which is not even stand up, right? You're just riffing on stuff, so that was fun. And then my first actual stand up show, I forgot how to do stand up comedy. I just was I don't remember any of this. It was real bad. MK, how about you?
Yeah, I moved back in with my parents for 6 months this year, so that was fun. I live in LA and I was just it's too much out here right now. I have to leave. And so I was living, but yeah, I'm back. Part of the reason I was then back in LA, and part of the reason I came back is because everything's still pretty closed down there. And Sarah Silverman's doing parking lot shows, so I ain't booking anything.
Yeah.
So I'm
enough.
I'm coming back to Austin, so that's why I'm here for 3 weeks and trying to do as many sets as possible. Got to get back into it. Gotta live my dream.
How's that been? How have you found? We're in this renaissance of the Austin comedy scene, as there have been a bunch of terrible articles written about that. How has that been? Have you found that having been gone and coming back?
It's been, I don't know. It's on one hand, I'm really grateful for any and all stage time that I can get. And it's so nice to be able to come back, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So that's really wonderful. On the other hand, I did go to a couple open mics and I didn't know a soul. And I was like, this is so crazy. And But maybe it's just like the scene's just going to get bigger, and I wonder if it's going to turn into more like New York or Chicago, where there's just kind of like different groups of comedians instead of like the school's getting bigger, and maybe all the students aren't going to know each other.
There's going to be cliques.
There's going to be some cliques, and some are better.
That.
Some are better.
Some are better. Some are wildly racist. That's we're seeing on Twitter today. Some of the trans like to just yell fucking racial slurs.
It's just the most. Just like I couldn't with that. I couldn't.
It's insane. It's. I don't want to just get off on a fucking rant here, but like comics always like the shitty edgelord comics always want to defend that kind of shit. I was like, it's jokes. Everything. It's just jokes. Can you point out a joke in that video? Is there an attempt at a joke? I don't even understand, other than like a racial slur and then a racist voice. I guess the voice is maybe an impression. Like, I don't understand what is the attempt at humor in that video. It just doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense. I don't know what's going on.
Anyway, I'm not trying to drag anybody into the fight. It's fine. We can move on. We got plenty of other shit to talk about. But goddamn,
but this guy, he's saying stuff that's like people have lost jobs for, and I'm like, what are you? Like, it's just not. And then anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Billy Crystal said it's a minefield now, so we have to be careful. We can just go ahead and jump into some of these letters because we'll have plenty of interesting things to talk about.
I do feel like I should point out that I went. I did have some drinks last night, and then I went to Waffle House and did cry in the ride to Waffle House. So that's the mental state.
Happy cry or a sad? Was it like a joyous reunion? It was just an
emotional. Like I had some beers and it was an emotional. It wasn't like I had Mother's. I went to my parents for Mother's Day and it was kind of a weird Mother's Day, and then my friend was like, what happened? And I just like, I don't know. Like one of those cries.
And did it feel good after, at least? Was it a good cry?
I think it was...
Get it out?
I don't know. I mean, I think yes, I definitely had some pent-up emotion, but also, I don't know.
Did it at least then justify Waffle House? You know what I mean? Did you have to go for sure. I shouldn't be eating this horse shit at 3 a.m., but I've been through some shit. I can have this waffle.
Right. Yeah. But then I had see, this is my thing about crying. I'm about it. I'm about let it go, let it out. But then also I hate the residual sadness that goes with crying. Like you can feel it in your eyes. And so you're eating Waffle House and you can still feel does that make sense?
No, am I being
crazy? Is this thing on?
No, it makes total sense. There's the pressure, there's the physical sensation of just having cried, but then there's also you've brought up all these emotions and they're not just gonna go away immediately. So whatever you do for the next 20 minutes after that cry is going to at least be tainted by the
It's I'll have my hash browns cap covered. Mother, I can't.
Well, I'll give you this. You are far from the first or last person to ever cry on the way to at or after a Waffle House. So you're in good company. They have
thank you.
Worse. Let's go ahead and jump into a couple of these letters. I have a few fun ones, I think. Let's see. Where do we want to start? Because some of these are... we'll do this one because it's tangentially related. Dear Abby... let's go back to one thing here. What is your guys' sort of familiarity level with Dear Abby? Amber, are you familiar at all? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Familiar. I used to read them when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It probably explains a lot about...
I'll tell you what
I'm tragically sad all the time.
What I have learned from doing this podcast and reading these fucking Dear Abby archives, a lot of kid... I knew it. I knew what it was as a kid and was familiar, but I never I gotta read the comics and then hit the Dear Abby. But a lot of 13-year-old letter writers to Dear Abby. I was very surprised. MK, what about you? You know what we're talking about?
I mean, I feel like there were iterations of Dear Abby, right? Mm-hmm. And then there kind of became, but it's just essentially an advice column, right?
It's an advice column. It's so it's the original woman's daughter now. It's kind of been passed down. And
what a legacy.
It's an interesting legacy because I don't know that either of them, like, I don't know what qualifies either of them. Like, I don't know what qualified the original Dear Abby for sure, but now you're just grandfathered in to be able to give good advice. That doesn't make sense to me either. But I will say, as like we don't often cover her answers, but they're usually pretty, like, she's reasonable. I gotta give, for the most part, she's not like out there whiling, so I'll give her a due. We'll see what you think about this letter. Dear Abby, I'm a part-time server at a nice restaurant. Recently, a woman came in to have lunch with quote-unquote Vic, the owner. Vic paid for the woman's lunch and tipped me before he left. The woman stayed longer and talked to me for a while. When she left, she handed me a small tip. I hesitated, but felt she'd be offended if I refused. 2 weeks later, this woman saw me at my other job and said Vic told her he had tipped me. She then demanded her money back. I was horrified. I didn't have cash on me, so I told her to stop by the restaurant later in the week. I said I would apologize to Vic, but she said she didn't want him to know. I feel awful about taking her tip. I mentioned it to another employee, and she said I shouldn't feel bad because what this woman did was appalling. Was I wrong in taking the tip? Signed, Shocked Server in America. Before we get into straight answering, because I'm sure we all have the exact same answer, do you guys, MK, Amber, have you guys worked tipping, like tip jobs before, service industry jobs like that?
MK, oh my God. I worked
Amber, go ahead.
So sorry.
No,
oh my God, I worked at Cracker Barrel. With the worst tips ever. Just a bunch of it's just a lot of $2 tips. I was just like, you have to move me to the kitchen. I have to be a cook. You can't. I can't do this.
I can't imagine. Like, I feel like I've worked a lot of bar jobs. I never waited tables, but I've been like a bartender and a lot of stuff like tip dependent jobs. But like Cracker Barrel has to be I've only been to Cracker Barrel like 2 or 3 times, but every time I've looked around, I'm like, none of these people know how to act in public, let alone tip. That has to be, right? It's got to be terrible.
Probably not vaccinated.
Yeah.
Oh, no, they're for sure not vaccinated. I don't think Cracker Barrel ever started social distancing. They put extra tape.
They actually, push people together.
Yeah. We're doing family style now. We're just everybody in it. They just serve you. You have to eat on one of those, like in those 2 big rocking chairs on the porch. That's the only one. Yeah. MK, how about you? Have you ever
long illustrious career of I think it started at 15 when I worked at Chicken Express, and then
hold on, can we talk about what Chicken Express is?
Chicken Express is North Texas' premier fried chicken chain.
Okay.
In my humble opinion, I worked at the flagship Chicken Express, please. No standing ovations from you guys. And then I don't know, it's just like fried chicken. For sure, a lot of MSG in there, and everything in the restaurant is fried, except the coleslaw, which does have so much sugar in it. It is, it'll kill you. I think it'll actually kill you.
Is it? So if we're going to rank it in our chicken wars, like I'm a Popeyes guy, but I feel like you got your Popeyes, your KFC, those are kind of your whatever, your higher end. Then you got your Churches and maybe like your Golden. Where do you put a Chicken Express? Where is your?
I mean, I personally put it at the top, but here's why. I think that actually all of these restaurants can be really great. The secret to me to good fried chicken is that it just needs to be fresh.
Yep.
Right? Like it just needs to like have enough turnover that you're keeping. So if you get like a busy Churches or a busy Popeyes, like that chicken's going to be great because they're just turning so much over.
Sure.
And because I worked at the flagship, we always had like so much fresh chicken up there, and I loved it.
Now, I'm going to say probably not the most as far as tips are concerned at a fried chicken. Okay, maybe I don't.
We did, so again, don't want to brag, but we at the Chicken Express I worked at, I really believe we were kind of the like first that like people started walking out to cars. Like, oh,
okay, so like in like a Sonic-y kind of like,
it was a little Sonic-y,
but like bringing,
yeah. So we actually, I didn't make a ton of tips, but it was, I'd probably make like $40-50 a night.
That's not terrible for a fucking fast food place. Like, yeah. All right. So let's jump back to this letter. How awful is this woman? Like, can you imagine? Imagine turning, like, if someone offers you money, you take the money, right? Am I crazy? Like, unless it's like you help the old woman carry her fucking bags up her steps and then she tries to give you $1, you can like, no, keep your dollar or whatever. But like at work, I'm going to say no to money.
It's not as if they're like multiple people at a table never tip.
That's
each
also,
tip.
Yes, very standard.
That happens all the time. Who doesn't do that?
No, you tip on 100%. Everybody should be tipping on whatever they're eating for sure. MK, I'm assuming you're.
I mean, my advice is first, I think we just need to burn down the entire system. And I'm starting at the top with capitalism as an institution.
You're on the right podcast, my friend. 100%. We should not have tip dependent business. It's an insane system that you can pay a certain segment of your population $2.13 an hour and expect your customers to make up their living wage. It's insane.
I think I had a twitch. I think I had a twitch in my eye when you were reading this, and I was who 2 weeks? Wasn't it like 2 weeks later? Who goes amount of time? Who's like see somebody 2 weeks? And I can't imagine
at a second location, like a psychopath. You didn't even do it you didn't go back to the restaurant and be like, "Hey, something happened." You found him at his other job. Ooh.
How bad did you need that money that you stop this person? Who remembers their waiter's face 2 weeks later?
Yeah.
For sure.
That's crazy.
I just can't. I don't know. I can't. I applaud this person, the server, that kept it together and had the. I would have lost it. I'd been like, no.
I would absolutely lose it. The only way I'm giving her money back is via balled up dollar, just throwing three balled up dollar bills at her. You know what I'm saying? And just making it very embarrassing.
Dump a jar of pennies at her feet.
Yeah. Absolutely, exactly. Because the audacity and she said, and if we go back, she handed me a small tip. Now, we'll say this. The one thing I know from doing this podcast is the story that people write in makes them seem as good as possible, right? Nobody's writing in the story where they're the asshole, yeah? So, maybe the tip isn't as small as he's saying it is. Maybe it's not small to her. But at the end of the day, I believe that when she says small tip, I think she handed her $3 or whatever it was, or $5, anything, right? It's definitely a small thing. And then she's also, here's what I mean to say. I'm bringing this up for a reason. I'm sorry, I got a little distracted. The woman didn't, when the person who tipped, the woman who wanted her money back, was don't say anything don't worry about it, because he said, I'll tell Vic, I'll go apologize to the owner. She knows she's fucked up, right? Because she's embarrassed. She doesn't want him to know. She's feeling shame. So there's just no way out of this situation.
And I think
she just took away any pressure to give her back the money, because it's I know the owner, but we're not going to tell the owner that you have to give me the money. So now you don't have the pressure of your job. You to give me back the money.
Absolutely not. Yeah, just insane. Just absolutely an insane move. And also and here's where I feel bad for this person. I feel awful about taking her tip. No, absolutely not. No.
You take it and then you steal from her purse. That's what this lady deserves.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know why. I don't know if it's a lady.
It is a lady. It's a she. Okay. I try to be careful about genders on in general, but they should refer to as she several times. So it is.
Okay. You take her purse and you throw it in the street.
100%. No,
that's the bad advice.
Yeah. Bad advice is follow her to her job. That's my bad advice, honestly, is return her money, but do it loudly at her job. Go to her place of business.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, remember when you gave me that tip and then complained that I was too much? Here's that tip you asked for back in front of all her friends.
I mean, max, I would think, it would be $20, $25.
It's definitely less than that. I promise you it's less than that.
Yeah.
The fact that she says small, this is just a small restaurant. I mean, she says it's a nice restaurant, but they came in for lunch. It's not even dinner. You know what I'm saying? They're not having drinks and shit. I'm guessing. I mean, maybe, but that seems unlikely. I feel like this is just man. And I think
I think tell Vic, and if he makes you give back the money, you burn the restaurant.
I say give the money back, but in pennies.
Yeah, that would be fun too.
Absolutely in pennies. Idea. If anything, you do it in pennies. But let's go back. I do want to talk about the restaurant here for a second because I just had to say it's the night I came in for lunch. Here's why I don't like this woman. We've all worked at a place where the owner's friends are the worst customers almost exclusively, right? They always feel entitled, or they'll come up and be like, they'll order a drink, and then, but I know the owner. Well, bitch, I don't care. Like, I'm not the owner, so pay your fucking tab. So, like, this is just screams entitled. Everything about this makes me angry.
I bet she got a free meal, too, right?
She did, yeah. Vic paid for the fucking meal. She didn't even pay for her fucking meal, and she's bitching about a tip. Ooh, boy.
Who is like, oh, I went to lunch with this person and they paid, but they probably didn't tip, so I should tip. Like, who would just assume that this person wouldn't have tipped?
I promise you, she knew he tipped. And then, everything about this is just making me furious. We can move on to another letter. We all agree. We're all on the same page. All agree, right? Let's move on to another, a new one. This is a little different. Dear Abby, my son Drew is almost 19. My problem is I found sex toys under his bed. He's had a steady girlfriend, Lindy, for a year. I've questioned them about their closeness. He says they've fooled around a little, but Lindy wants to wait until marriage for sex. I told Drew when he first started seeing Lindy to take it slow and not to pressure her. My son and Lindy spend a lot of time together, and I worry about what might happen. Now, having found these toys, I'm confused. I threw them away and left him a note where he'd hidden the toys, saying that these things are unnecessary, especially for an 18-year-old, and besides, they aren't the real thing. There were toys for both sexes, so that leads me to believe that Lindy may use them also. They looked quite new. I want to believe that if they aren't sexually active, Drew feels these are necessary. I know all teenagers are curious, but I didn't think the curiosity would advance past men's magazines. Was I wrong for being upset and throwing his toys away? Should I try to talk to him about this, or should I have just had his father talk to him? I'm the parent with the discipline and responsibility. My husband just lets everything go. Signed, Confused Mother in Florida.
Right. First, she needs to divorce
Florida.
that terrible husband. For
that
sure.
terrible husband.
Yeah, there's so many little levels of shit that's snuck in here. Yeah. I would like,
but not on the toys because they're clean.
That was my question.
They not covered in cum.
They look quite new. You do
not crusty at all.
You clean them before you throw them under the bed. Even at 18, I get that these like 18-year-old boys are a little gross, but you give them at least a cursory wipe before you throw them back under the bed, right? This lady, okay, I do have.
I mean, it's an honest question, I think.
It is an honest question, and I think she handled it poorly. I think throwing them away isn't the move. At the very least, he spent good money on those things, or some money on those things. And it's an uncomfortable conversation to have, but also, he's fucking 19. He's an adult. He can vote, at least, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know that you need to have a conversation at that point. He's having what appears to be a healthy sexual relationship with a woman, and they use toys. It's not weird to me. It's not bad.
I feel like Amber needs to chime in. Yeah.
Hold on.
I was going to say, as a parent, I need to know what Amber thinks
up for. Okay, here we go.
Before I want to...
As a teen mom of a teen...
As a teen mom of a teen, I think that she should be glad that there are sex toys under that bed and not a baby.
yeah, for sure. You don't have to pay.
I had a baby at that age.
Very true. That is very much obvious. I do want to. So I do think the they look quite new to me is very funny, but this last paragraph makes me so sad. The thing about should I talk to his father? I'm the one with the discipline and responsibility. He just lets everything go. Like this woman has so many more issues to be dealing with than her horny 19-year-old son. And
yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? Like that
you need to sit down and talk to your husband first. And
but
like,
splitting
listen.
responsibilities.
This is a helicopter mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is helicopter parenting.
Well,
My advice,
please.
Sorry, I know
No,
we
go ahead,
keep stepping. I think, I mean, if real talk, I think, but it's probably the like most, I don't know, sex positive liberal. I mean, I'm just a very sex positive liberal person. I'm like, you sit the son down and you have a long talk. But I guess teens don't want that.
I for sure wouldn't. At 19, the last thing I want to do is sit down and talk to my mom about the fleshlight she found under my bed.
That's true.
I don't want to have that conversation.
We're thinking it's a fleshlight.
Well, she says there's toys for both sexes. Is what she says.
So
I'm assuming we're talking I'm assuming we're talking a vibrator and some sort of fake vagina.
So two women now that have demanded their tip back.
Yeah,
oh my God. I would have so much fun if I found sex toys under my son's bed. I would just ridicule. That would make so many jokes just constantly.
Put him on a plate at dinner and just like,
yeah.
I cooked you dinner, and he's just like,
you got to wash him in the dishwasher, and then hey, you got to put the dishes away, and then when you open it up, just waving back and forth. Yeah,
stirring up potted soup with a dildo. That'd be fun.
You gotta understand that, like, I know it's like he's living in your house and you're the disciplinarian, but at this point he's 19. The opportunities for those conversations is kind of, I mean, you could have them, but like he's not gonna listen to you. He's a fucking adult now. Like.
And also,
who cares?
It's the safest possible option. All you found under the bed was a responsible child. You know what I mean? Like, you just found, and like a child that's like in touch with his partner's sexuality. You know what I mean? Like, there's okay. We can't guarantee that she's also into it, but at 19, I don't think I was in touch or sort of like mature enough to be like, oh, let's bring in vibrators and make sure you're taking care. You know what I mean? Like, that's like that seems like a very healthy sexual relationship that you are trying to dissuade your son from having. Seems wild.
If I had a vibrator at 18, my life would be very different.
Sure. That seems very fair. Also, she left a note where they were. Imagine finding
weird.
that note.
I feel like that's weird.
It's very passive aggressive. Yeah.
I wonder what this note said. What do you think it said?
I think the note said something along the lines of, I know what you did last summer. Like, it's very much, there's like a creepy, it's just that drawing of that snowman from that terrible movie where it's like, you could have saved her, I left you all the clues or whatever. That was a meme. It's just that.
Do you guys think that, well, Amber, you already have a kid. Chris, do you want kids?
No, I'm a hard pass.
See, I kind of think I do want kids. But I feel in my head, I'm going to be like, I'm going to be the dad. It's just like, I don't know. This sounds creepy though. But like, I feel like talking, like, did you watch Easy A? And they talk very openly about sex with their kid. And I feel like I want to be that kind of parent.
Well, yeah, I think that's the healthy kind of parent to be.
Right.
You want that. Yeah. I mean, that's the healthy, responsible thing is to have a honest conversation with your child.
Oh, Patrick, you're blasting your girlfriend these days? That's too much, right?
That's too much. So there's a way to have an honest conversation that isn't.
Maybe don't say blasted.
Yeah, that's
that's true.
Yeah. You jizzed all up in there. You don't have to say that. You can just
Patrick, you're having, I don't, why is it
high fives? Yeah,
that's not even what I want to name it, child.
No, yeah, I don't. I'm past. I think I'm pretty confident in the like. I know my life. I like my life, and I don't know that a child needs to be part of this. So
yeah,
it's fair. You know what I mean?
I mean, I would like to have a kid, but I can't imagine a world that it's going to happen.
There is also the added with you of being gay, where like
it's like I'm not going to get. I'm not accidentally going to get a surrogate now.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. You're not going to get drunk and accidentally artificially inseminate someone. You know what I mean? Like there's extra levels for you. So that would be more adoption or whatever, and then that's going to require like a. It's just a lot of steps. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I think I would be. Here's my advice: is I would be the fun dad.
That's the advice.
That's my advice.
Yeah.
Is that bad advice?
And again, in this situation, you both have the opportunity to be the fun dad. Nobody needs discipline in this situation. He's doing fine. The only thing I would tell him is, put him in a Ziploc bag, something where you're not getting carpet fiber stuck all over him under your bed. Like just cleanliness is the only thing I would talk to him about.
Right. Just have a conversation about hygiene and testing and, yeah.
This is a safe sex conversation that goes, hey, you seem to be doing pretty good at this. If you are, but also, here's some handy wipes and use a condom. Seems very easy.
Amber, feel free not to answer this if you feel like it's too personal, but did you have a sex talk with your child?
With Elena?
Yeah.
Oh, often.
Often?
And how old is she now?
She's 16.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah. Often. Started, pretty early. She was about 2 years old. I'm just kidding.
Does she get weirded out when you when you talk to her about stuff, or does she come to you with questions, or
both? Media is actually like a really great opportunity. Like if you're watching a show together and something comes up, it's a good opportunity to pause and just be like, there was this one time that we were watching a show and I had to pause and just be like, hey, by the way, if you have sex with another woman, you can still spread STDs that way. Like, safe sex.
Jumping in here.
And she was just like, wait, what? And I was like, wait, what? What have you been doing?
Yeah.
It's like, nothing. I just didn't know. It's like.
But that's also like.
But that's great.
That is so much better than my sex talk. So I grew up in the heyday of AIDS, my sex talk time was like AIDS everywhere, condom, like, which is obviously important, but like it was like the sort of fear mongering era of AIDS where like it was very like media heavy on AIDS. And my mother, as opposed to having like, reasonable conversation or we were watching a movie and something happened, she just walked into my room with a banana and a condom and was like, put it on. And then that was about it. She didn't really describe any of the rest of it. She was just like, make sure you know how this part works. And then that was the end of our sex talk. So, like, I think you handled that very well, is my point.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I know, like, she handed me that, and I'm like, okay, this is a condom, and this is but, like, I get this is a phallic representation, but, like, I have no clue about how to talk to a woman. Like, I was so far removed from the possibility of sex that this time, like, she picked the wrong starting point, is my point.
Right. I never really got a sex talk, and I am kind of bitter about it.
It does seem like something that was promised to us by like TV and movies and shit that right. I don't know that actually happened that much, But
I do think like our culture, like, I don't know, it like, honestly, like they're going to figure stuff out on the internet. So it's like better to learn it from a real person than like,
yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the first things that we talked about when she got the internet was, hey, you stumble on some stuff. That stuff's not necessarily realistic.
Or a healthy representation of what that should be, for sure. And also, I think so while I grew up in the like I said, the sort of AIDS epidemic, this was just like media centric on it. Not that I was like around a lot of AIDS. It just was the time period. I did also kind of grow up with the burgeoning beginning of the internet. Like I went from like AOL to just sort of general internet, like becoming what the internet would be. And my parents would have no fucking idea what any of that was, right? Like no clue what that would be or like the amount of pornography you could see. I think, Amber, you're at least in a place where like, you know what to warn her for. Not that the internet's not changing, but you've had the internet in your life. You know what I mean? You have the ability to go like, to kind of see what's coming around the corner.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I remember being in those Yahoo chat rooms and getting that I am one a cyber. And I was like, what does that mean? What?
ASL? I keep waiting for ASL to make a comeback in like TikTok.
Shit,
spirals. Yeah. So yeah, let's go ahead. We can move on to another one. I think we've all kind of agreed that kid's doing fine, and his mom just needs to have an uncomfortable. That was the other thing I was going to say. When we talk, there's that sort of uncomfortable parent conversation trope or whatever, and you see it a lot among like conservative assholes where they're like, trans people, how am I supposed to explain this to my kid? you're probably not explaining anything to your kid. I'm guessing you're not also sitting down and having like a realistic sex talk or talking about consent or any of that shit. So like, let's stop pretending that's your kid's gonna figure that out from watching Pose and you're like, fucking.
Here's the thing: my first gay experience was at 19 years old, and I both gave and received a blowjob. All right, and I had so little knowledge or had been told so little that I was like, I think I need to get tested for HIV. I like might have like, and this is 2000, this is 2004. Like it's not, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like, and
then I cried on the way
to Waffle House. This was not 2004. It was the last week, and it was in the back of an Uber on the way to Waffle House. We understand.
Exactly.
You're a late bloomer.
I wished I'd have gotten a sex talk because I would have had so many questions. But it was just like that environment was never made available for me. So my advice: sit down, have fun.
Yeah, just have an honest conversation with your kid.
Sex talk.
Honestly, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. Like that awkward stuff, the first few times, it's awkward. But me and Elena talk about sex
even by
3 times a day. And
even like
and it's totally fine.
Yeah.
Even this like slow footing, like what do I do? It still feels like you're creating some kind of stigma around sex.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Your children.
Yeah. And luckily, it happened to him at 19, where I think it's not going to imprint that hard. You're already like, if you're at the point at 19 where you're buying sex toys and keeping them in your house, in your parents' house, you're probably going to be in a place where like this isn't going to fuck you up that much. It's just going to be a funny, uncomfortable conversation or story to tell. But if that happened at like, if you were like 14. Or 13 or whatever, and your parents throw away your expression of sexuality and make a big thing out of it, that's going to fuck you up. So yeah, you got to have like realistic, honest numbers.
And I mean, who doesn't? Also, maybe this is just ironic, goofy sex toy stuff. Like
there's also that.
I have a dildo floating around my room that is not for... It's fun to just set it on the coffee table when guests come over.
And at 19, man, I didn't even think about that. I really gave this kid a lot of credit. At 19, well, so here's the thing. If it was just a dildo, that's one thing. He's got both. At 19, if there's a fleshlight in my house, I'm fucking that fleshlight. There's no way, even if it's given to me as an ironic joke, it is getting used.
That's a fleshy delight.
Yeah. There's no way.
Even if it's given to you at a comedy festival.
You don't want to know the answer to that, Amber, but yes, 100% yes. As did, I promise you, everyone that was making jokes about that fleshlight. We're all at the same comedy festival.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get one, and I'm curious about it.
Understood. So here's the thing. I had it for a while, and then it did eventually become a joke. It became a joke in our house. Me and Maris would like plant it places because we took it out of the plastic part, so it was just like a soft rubbery mess, and then it became about how can you reveal, like how can you you open the dryer and it's in there or whatever. It became a bit for a while, but after
I'm not gonna say names, but I remember opening the door to Cap City Comedy Club, like the open mic, like right after that comedy festival, and just hearing a comedy, like the first thing I heard was that guy going, "I like it better than my wife's pussy." I love it.
Oh no! You can tell us names.
Can we cancel comedy? We need to cancel.
Cancel culture is not doing comedy. Enough work. Let's move on to the next letter. Dear Abby, for the past 15 years, I've been best friends with a man I'll call James. We're both in our mid-20s. I always thought James and I told each other everything. Over the years, we've shared some good and not so good times. He's been like a brother to me. Recently, a mutual friend, Kate, told me that James is gay. I'm struggling with this news because if it's true, I never had a clue. To complicate matters, for the past year, I've been falling in love with him. Aww. I need to confront James about his sexual orientation, and I feel an urgency to tell him how I feel about him. But I don't know how to begin this truth session. Please help me, Abby. Signed, Needs to Know in Knoxville. I don't like the term confront James about his sexual orientation. That feels very aggressive.
It does. I took a deep gulp there.
Yeah. There's an audible gasp on the podcast when that was read. I have a question. What gender do we think the person writing this letter is?
I mean, my assumption was a lady. Again,
I had the same assumption, but it is never said. There is no. If I go back and read this, it's just I have been friends with this man. We've gone through some stuff. He's been like a brother to me. There's no point to say he, she, whatever, and that brings us to two very different scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think you. So here's the thing. If you've been friends with somebody for 15 years and they haven't told you some aspect of themselves, I don't know that they want you to know that thing. Is that crazy? Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense.
You know what I mean? And this thing, I feel like the person who wrote this letter is offended that they weren't trusted with this part of their friend. But then we get to the part where they've been falling in love with him. It's very, very complicated.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah, there's a lot of different scenarios, and this is pretty black and white, and there's a lot of different scenarios.
Right.
As a gay man, as a come on,
mm-hmm.
I
come on. I like
as a come on, gay white man, put her there. First of all, my advice, lose the friend that's telling you that James is gay. All right, because that's not that person's business, and that
100%.
She needs to not be a Batinsky. And if your relationship with it's James, right,
mm-hmm.
is actually as strong as you think it is, then that should be. You should let that guide what you feel about him, not what somebody else is telling you.
Absolutely.
That being said, I mean, I've had like relationships with women. Okay, so let's say it is a woman. I've had relationships with women that are like very meaningful and very deep, and it like was before I came out, and it was confusing, and it's like not always easy. I'm also curious to know how old these people are.
They're in their mid-20s. We're both in our mid-20s, they say, which is interesting that you've known them for 15 years. So you've known this person since you were a child. So I'm assuming, right? If you're in your mid-20s and you've known them for 15 years, you've known them since you were 10, roughly.
Right.
So there is a lot going on here where, like, I'm assuming, and I'm making assumptions here that I probably shouldn't as a straight man, that James is discovering that about himself over the course of your friendship, right? If you've known him since you're 10 and you're now knowing him for 15 years, there's a good chance within that 15 years, James is figuring out that he is gay, right? Or like, I mean, I don't know. You know better than me, but I'm assuming there's some truth to that statement, right? So like, I just feels like the bigger issue here is the bomb of I've been falling in love with him, because it makes it about the letter writer and not James. Does them, you know what I'm saying? The person writing this letter is now making this about them and not their good friend who is clearly dealing with some other serious stuff.
That does make sense. I personally believe that actually the falling in love with him is kind of a sweet thing and kind of a noble thing. Mm. And I think if you really like love someone and care about somebody like that, you really just want them to be happy, right? And
absolutely. So
maybe you won't have a romantic relationship, but you could still have a really deep, meaningful, profound, lifelong friendship and relationship. And you know, as somebody, I was in love with a guy for a long time, and I never told him.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of like ended our friendship, but not more just like kind of like he let it fade, and I tried to hold on, but I never really told him I had loved him, and I still regret that. And so I think she actually needs to tell him how he feels. If it's a man or a woman.
So here's my so question, and let's say, for sake of argument, that he is gay, because we're putting all of this on this fucking mouthy bitch Kate. By the way, we don't know if James is gay at all. This is all boiled down.
He could be asexual, you know.
He could be straight and Kate's a bitch. You know what I don't mean to be shitty. I'm just saying we are putting a lot of faith in this Kate person over someone who's known this person for 15 years and maybe, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. So let's assume that James is gay. If you are Kate, if you are the lady Kate, and I think the conversation has to be, I think you have to know if James is gay before you tell him you love him. Does that make sense? Or that you're in love with him? Because you can love someone without being in love with them. Does that, you know what I'm saying? Because if you have the conversation with James and Kate doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about, well, now we have a fucking very different conversation to have than if James is gay and now you're telling a gay person who's not going to reciprocate because they're gay that you love them. But now, if the writer of this letter is a man, because that is still a very obvious possibility here, well, now we've got like a romantic comedy just waiting to happen. This is just a friendship that's going to blossom no more. That's every Ryan Reynolds movie before Deadpool.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's complicated. I usually pick letters that are like a little more breezy, but man, this one's interesting.
M.K, I'd like to confront you about your sexual orientation.
I would like to confront you. Yeah, that's not
having like an intervention about this gayness. It's the weirdest language. I need to confront James about his sexual orientation. Is the way he says it.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
the advice.
Wild.
Don't ever
confront.
I think there's just so many. I feel like there are people, and we take for granted. I think that we live kind of in a hyper liberal bubble, and most of our friends are progressive and understanding of each. But there's a big chunk of America that doesn't understand that you don't say confront somebody about their sexual orientation. You talk with them.
Yeah, you have a conversation.
Or what their dreams are. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, that's the advice. Is just learn to be better.
I think we're right on that one. Let's go ahead and jump into another one here. I think this one's weird. Dear Abby, I have very eclectic tastes and have always prided myself on having things that are unique to me. However, I have a friend who constantly robs me of my individuality. I have 2 cats, and she acquired 2 cats. I got a hamster for a boyfriend, and she got 2 hamsters for her husband and put them in a more elaborate cage. I bought a water dragon. She got 2 and put them in a fancier tank. I bought a dragon print for my living room. She bought 3 dragon prints. I am an avid gardener and mentioned that someday I would like to have a water garden. Well, guess what? She now has a water garden. She constantly tries to outdo me. It goes on and on. It infuriates me when our friends comment and praise her for her style and taste. We are both in our 30s, but suddenly I feel like I'm back in high school. I don't want to be petty, but I feel like my identity is being stolen. What can I do to stop it? Signed, copied in Connecticut. What can she do to stop her single white female friend? By the way, I'm assuming single. These are that is way too many weird animals for this to be anything but 2 white ladies.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you got to lose that friend.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, no, go ahead.
And real talk, like and the way you do it is you just slowly let them go and kind of black hole them over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
just drift away.
Your third, just drift away.
Yeah, 100%. Also, I think there's another move. I think you could do something like tell her that you always wanted. I always wanted to have 2 Vietnamese like potbelly pigs or whatever,
right?
And let her get them, and then you just don't get them. You can just start fucking with her life. You know what I'm saying? You just start telling her all the things you want that you don't, and just let her build her weird
sabotage.
Yeah. Yes. I'm talking about sabotage. Yeah,
I love it. Yes, and then the way that you gotta separate her from the friend group, though. Because you don't want it to be awkward, because you can't get rid of her if she's still around the friends. So you really got to maybe suggest things that the other friends don't like so that they don't like her anymore either.
There you go.
My advice, honestly, is just to move out of Connecticut. Just go to New York. Go to New York.
You're real close.
Let her go. Just let her go. You're that close to the city. Connecticut's not that exciting. And I get it. You're getting these things because Connecticut's not exciting. And what it seems like to me is you really need more excitement in your life. So just move to New York.
Can we talk about this run of it? So she got 2 cats, a hamster, a water dragon. which I'm assuming it's a lizard of some kind. And then she bought a dragon print for my living room. Is this just an anime? Like, what is this person's life?
It feels like they met at like a Magic the Gathering tournament.
Right? Yeah.
They like are still friends.
And then the other friend bought 3 dragon prints. Do you just live at the knife store at the mall? Like, what is that? You know what I'm
what's
saying?
going on? Were you like friends at the Renaissance Fair? Like, is that you work together at the fair? But there's a good Renaissance Fair in Connecticut.
Almost certainly. You're in the woods. There's a bunch of theater nerds up there for sure. Mm-hmm. But she goes on to say how like she's so proud of her individual style and eclectic taste, and that style is having 2 cats. That's where all of that started.
That's her personality.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems wild.
Is she also mad at Mark Maron? Okay. Is she did she copy him maybe?
Yeah, maybe she should have. She should be at the very least.
I heard he has 4 dragon prints.
That's also this second person's poor husband. There is no evidence that husband asked for hamsters, wanted hamsters. This person said, I got a hamster for my boyfriend, so she got 2 for her husband. Her husband, we don't know this husband. I'm sure he's annoyed by this dragony bitch too.
Here's another idea. I say double down and outdo the bitch that's copying you. Okay. Just we're putting in
mutually assured destruction. I like it.
Biggest water garden you can afford. Like you'd go all in on that water garden.
Then, can a water dragon live in a water garden? I don't even know. Man,
it seems like it would. What is a water?
I have no idea. I'm gonna Google what a water dragon. I don't super know what a water garden is. I'm assuming it's a pond.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's just like a tank, like a one of those like man-made tank things.
Yeah. Yeah, a water dragon is a lizard. It's kind of a cute little.
How big we talking?
I'm guessing in the 6-inch range or so. It doesn't look huge. It's not like a Gila monster or anything, but it's also not a salamander. A little bigger than that. The Chinese water dragon is a species of agamid lizard native to China and mainland Southeast Asia. Is also known as an Asian water dragon, Thai water dragon, and green water dragon. So that's it. That's all I know about.
Like the name water dragon.
That's cool. But man, this husband now has to have a bunch of weird animals and 3 dragon prints laying around his previously, I'm assuming, no dragon print household. So that's clearly not his style, you know what I'm saying? This woman, I don't know. I feel bad for everybody else involved.
As stand-up comedians, I feel like we do a good job of policing each other pretty good when somebody because so much of our trade is like the spoken word, and so if somebody gets too close to what you're doing, you kind of are like, "What are you doing?" That's my thing.
Yeah.
Right? Or does that just
that's my bit. That's a little too close to my bit. I don't know that that's the same in regular people. That's an uncomfortable conversation to have, I think.
You can't just do that. You can't transfer that with dragon.
That energy into dragon so much. Yeah, I think we can all. So I think the advice here is just back away from this woman, but also trick her into ruining her life. I think we can all agree that's the move.
For sure. Or double down and just really make her eat it. That would.
One more letter and then we'll wrap it up. Dear Abby, I am 13 in the 8th grade and have been reading your column faithfully for 2 years.
Aww.
It's very cute. I have become good friends with a freshman boy I will call Tad. We were in a play together last year. He now plays in the high school band. Here is where the problem lies. The rest of my friends in the band don't like Tad. By the way, I normally pick very recent letters. You're going to realize by the language here in a second, this is an older letter. The rest of my friends in the band don't like Tad. When I ask them why, their exact words are, he's a fag, and he's just weird. Rough. I don't like it. Obviously, we don't like it. But it's just there in black and white. Yes, he is quite weird, which is the reason I'm drawn to him. My friends think I'm absolutely nuts. Recently, I revealed to one of them that I have a slight crush on Tad. She looked at me as if I were some kind of disgusting beast. I know I should ignore their comments, but I have the feeling there is something more I should do. What do you think? Signed, Odd Duck in South Texas. I think that her South Texas friend... So we're going to start with the very obvious place. I think he's just a guy that likes, cool music. You know what I mean? That F slur that is dropped on this guy, that is brutal, is the way I think it was used in my lifetime,
Right.
which is that like, oh, you have purple hair, or you listen to the Smiths, or you know what I mean? It's not necessarily speaking to his actual sexuality.
I think that she needs to confront him about his sexual orientation.
Yeah.
Clearly.
She needs to demand his tip. No, I don't. That doesn't.
I mean, these friends sound like assholes.
These friends are, but clearly these friends suck, right? You need to, for starters, stop talking to these friends. But also, I think here's the thing, little 13-year-old girl, and I'm mildly, so I'm not torn. That the slur just shows that the friends are assholes and only what we're talking about. However, you need to just kind of go with your gut a little bit. Like, is he weird or is he a creep? Is my point. Is he weird? Does he like weird music? He watches weird movies or whatever. He's interesting. He's weird based on the fact that you're from South Texas. Or is he weird and you're getting weird vibes from him? Because that is something I think women need to be taught to trust in themselves. That's me being woke.
No,
you know what I'm saying? I think there's an argument. I think women need to be
absolutely.
trusted to trust your gut. And if you think he's weird, there's different kinds of weird, and we need to know what that kind of weird we're talking.
Right. I mean, I feel like I was called weird a lot.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
In middle school, I wrote poetry and I was the sad girl. But like I grew up really cool, so he might just be.
I'm gonna say he was a skater boy, and she said, "See you later, boy."
Yeah.
And he wasn't good enough for her, but now he's a superstar, slamming on his. I'm just gonna sing the whole song.
I was waiting to see
slamming on his guitar.
I was waiting to see how many of those lyrics you knew. I wasn't
I
going to cut you off.
Far too many.
Yeah. I think look. If you're considered weird in South Texas, you probably just don't say the N-word. So he's probably pretty cool. But I just want to tell little teenage girls, trust your gut. That's all I'm trying to say.
Trust your gut. Start a gay-straight alliance. Tell your friend. This is my advice.
I love it.
You double down and you ruin those people that said the F slur.
Absolutely.
You make them regret it. Is that too?
You team up with him 100%.
You team up with him. I don't know. That's...
I'm
on a quest for vengeance.
No, I'm with you. And obviously, I think the bigger issue here is go hang out with Tad. You'll date him for a couple weeks. You're 13.
Tad seems great.
Nothing you're doing matters.
Does anybody? I also have a crush on Tad now. All right? He seems great. You go for it, girl.
Your bigger issue is you pick better friends, I think, is just this kid's bigger issue. Because, like I said, you're 13, nothing matters. You're like, oh, I'm going to see this boy when I'm 13. Whatever. He'll fucking hold hands. Maybe get pregnant. I don't know. I was not that 13-year-old. I'm just saying. But yeah, it doesn't seem like this is something that's going to, date him or not going to ruin her life. But, those friends that you're hanging out with, they are going to fucking start influencing your worldview. You know what I mean? At some point, and you got to get away from those friends.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's as good a place as any to wrap this up. Amber, where can people find you on the internet? Anything you want to, anything show?
My Instagram is at Amber Bixby. My Twitter's at Bixbot. I have a website, amberbixby.com, and my album is streaming on Spotify.
Check it out. Teen Mom by Amber Bixby. It's hilarious. Definitely check that out. And MK, what about you? What's your deal? What's going on?
I am at M.K. Paulsen on Twitter and Instagram. That's Paulsen. And yeah, check out Inside Jokes on Amazon Prime. It's a docu-series about up-and-coming stand-ups.
Definitely check all that out for sure. I am at Chris Cubis on all social media. If you like the show, rate, review, subscribe. Give us 5 stars on all the Apple podcasts and everywhere you can give us 5 stars. And we'll be back next week with more bad advice.